Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. We will learn the chapter Microbes in Human Welfare. Microbes in the production of biogas. Here you are seeing is a biogas plant, and this biogas plant diagram is important. You may get diagram based question or you may be asked to draw the diagram also. Let's familiarize with the parts briefly now. I will explain the parts later. Wastewater feed or slurry is there. Usually we use gobar gas or a cow dung mixed with the water for this, that is called a slurry. There is a digester which is usually below the soil level. Gas holder is there, and there is a collecting tank after that from the digester, that is called manure is getting collected there. Then there is a pipe going from the gas holder to that gas is utilized at homes. So what is a biogas? It's a mixture of gases. Predominantly what is there? Methane. It is produced by the microbial activity and which may be used as a fuel. You have learned that microbes produce different types of gaseous end products during growth and metabolism. The type of gas produced depends upon the microbes and the organic substrate they utilize. So always we are not going to get the same combination of gases, but combination varies with what the type of organism used for fermentation or biogas formation, and also the substance that we are using for digesting. In the example cited in relation to fermentation of dough, we saw there also fermentation is happening in dough or cheese making and production of beverages. What does the gas mainly produce? Carbon dioxide. But however, certain bacteria growing in the gut of the ruminant animals like a cow and all, they have the ability to digest cellulosic material. Where do you find cellulose? Cellulose is making the plant cell wall, and these cattle are all herbivores. They are feeding on large amount of plant material. So large amount of cellulose is going into their gut, and there it is digested by a group of bacteria called the methanogens. So they can convert the cellulose producing methane, and that is acting as biogas. And one example of the common category of methanogen is methanobacteria. They are found usually anaerobic sludge during sewage treatment also. We will learn about sewage treatment. These bacteria are present in the rumen of cattle. A lot of cellulose materials are present in the food of cattle. In rumen what happens? The bacteria break down the cellulose and play an important role in the nutrition of cattle. So excreta of cattle contains a lot of bacteria, methanogen bacteria, and cow dung is called a gobar. That is the reason why dung can be used for generation of biogas, commonly called as gobar gas. We don't use the excreta of any other animal. That is usually used for a manure and all. But here basically biogas is produced from gobar gas because the dung contains lot of methanogens. And now we are coming back to the structure. Biogas plant consists of a tank which is 10 to 15 feet deep and it has it collects the waste which we are providing. The waste or here the slurry means the cow dung mixed with the water. There is a floating cover. Why the floating cover? Because if the cover is fixed, then the gas produced inside will cause immense pressure and the chance of bursting is there. So as more and more gas gets collected, the floating cover will be placed over the slurry, keeps on rising, and gas is produced in the tank due to microbial activity. After 1 or 2 months, once all the slurry is being used up, they will remove the slurry and use it as a manure in the field. At the same time, fresh slurry will be fed into the tank. And that gas collected is used in the nearby houses. Usually biogas plants are present in rural areas. The reason is very simple. The cattle rearing is happening in the villages, and cow dung is also available there, right? We don't get large amount of gas, but the gas available is enough for maybe cooking and lighting. And the technology is developed in India mainly due to the efforts of two agencies. One is Indian Agricultural Research Institute IARI and Khadi and Village Industries Commission KVIC. Please keep in mind these two agencies. So hope you understood biogas. The combination of the components of biogas, it consists of methane. The major proportion is methane, 50 to 70%. Carbon dioxide is around 30 to 40%, and hydrogen, nitrogen and hydrogen sulfide are also present. So biogas plant uses cow dung as a substrate. Why is it used? Because it has lot of methanogens which can act on cellulosic materials and produce different gases. Main is methane, which is used as a biogas. Another important aspect of a microbes is as biocontrol agents. It is used in agriculture. So there is a method of controlling pests that relies on natural predation rather than introduced chemicals. Here biological control means one organism is controlled by another organism. I will give you a small example. If your class is left without any teacher, naturally your sound level will be very high, or the class may be very noisy. But imagine maybe your prefects or monitors are trying to make you quiet, but that may not work to greater extent. The presence of a teacher will change the entire scenario in most of the cases, right? So here also, if a pest is making troubling you in your farm, usually what do? We spray certain chemicals. What is the problem? There are two problems associated. One, this is very harmful for our environment. It can cause environmental degradation and pollution. That's the first or direct implication. Apart from this, when we are spraying this chemical, is it targeting only that pest? No. Other small organisms, soil organisms, other plants, animals, all will be affected equally, and they will have harmful effects also. So is there a way we can control only the pest which is troubling us? Suppose I will go back to the same scenario. Okay, your class is very noisy in the absence of teacher, and your principal walks in, and the principal finds that you are all making a lot of noise. And actually the noise is made by 3-4 students. They were playing or fighting or whatever, but some of the children were reading books, or some of them were studying, or some of them were simply drawing or doing something without making much noise, or sitting in their place, doing some productive work. So if the teacher decides to punish the whole class, entire class, it's not fair, right? Because you are simply penalized for the guilt done by somebody else. Nobody likes that. So here also we are trying for a very specific way of treating only the pest which is we are targeting. And the second thing, without causing any damage to our environment as well. In such case, we use biocontrol agents. It is based on the prey-predator relationship in our environment. Every organism is a part of a food chain. Every organism in this nature has got a predator. So the predator is keeping a check or a balance on the number of the prey. So this principle of nature is made use of in the biocontrol agents. So here a key belief of the organic farmer, this is a part of organic farming where we don't use any chemicals, is that biodiversity furthers health. The more species or variety a landscape has, the more sustainable it is, because it only with a plant or only with a kind of animal, the environment or ecosystem cannot sustain. Ecosystem should have producer, it should have consumers in different levels, like herbivores should be there, carnivores should be there, top carnivores should be there. But we cannot have top carnivores and all in a crop field, but still different types of trophic levels should be there. Only then the ecosystem will be sufficient. So in that case, organic farmer understands this principle and he goes with that in mind into biocontrol agents. So he works to create a system where the insects that are sometimes called as pests, means harmful ones, are not completely eradicated, but instead their number is kept under check or manageable levels by a complex system of checks and balances within a living and vibrant ecosystem. That is, we are not completely killing them. Some of them we need. They also have an important role in the ecosystem. Maybe they are troubling us, but they are having a significant role in the nature. So their number is only kept under check or control so that they are not harming our crops. Contrary to the conventional farming, as I mentioned, we use chemicals, but here useful and harmful life forms are killed indiscriminately. But this is a holistic approach that seeks to develop understanding of the webs of interaction between myriad of different types of organisms that constitute flora and fauna. Flora means plants, fauna means animals. The organic farmer holds the view that eradication of the creatures that are often described as pests is not only possible but also undesirable. That is, if you eradicate them also, but it is not good, because without them, beneficial predatory and parasitic insects which depend upon them as food or host would not be able to survive. Okay, because they may be feeding on some other small organisms. They will also multiply because of the lack of their predator, and eventually they will die of competition. The same way, there are certain other organisms depending on this particular pest as their food, they will also get wiped off. So thus, use of biocontrol measures will greatly reduce our dependence on toxic chemicals and pesticides. Here basically you have to understand two things. One, here we are not completely eradicating them, but keeping their number under a control. Second, this is not causing any hazardous effect to the environment, but rather a holistic approach in which we try to balance the nature's ecosystem, right? Important part of biological farming approach is to become familiar with the various life forms that inhabit the field. That's the first thing. The farmer should have an idea about different organisms, their significant role, how are they related to the next trophic level. Predators he should know, as well as pests, and also their life cycle, patterns of feeding and habitat they prefer. This will help develop appropriate means of biocontrol. So when we come to certain biopesticides that we use, first and foremost is Bacillus thuringiensis. About this you learn in biotechnology also. I will talk a little about Bacillus thuringiensis now, because that is already told in the biotechnology applications chapter. So what are Bacillus thuringiensis? They are a kind of rod-shaped bacteria, and these bacteria have a kind of protein called a crystal protein. Okay, it is produced by a gene called a cry gene, and they produce cry protein. Cry stands for crystal, cry protein. Once an insect feeds on this bacteria, it will die because the protein becomes activated inside the gut of the insect because of the alkaline pH, and it will cause lysis of the epithelium and cause swelling and pain, and finally the insect will die. So by knowing this, in biotechnology what do? We transfer the cry gene from the bacterium to the crop, so that by eating the crop, insect would die, so they will not damage it. But here we are talking about holistic approach. We are not using biotechnology here. In this case, we usually buy the spore of this bacteria in sachet, and we can spray it or mix it with water and spray it in our field, so that we can control the insect. Here also the advantage is it's very target specific. A particular insect only will die. It will not kill all the insects feeding on them. Okay. Now another one is a ladybird. Ladybird, though we are telling bird, it is not a bird, it is an insect. You are all familiar with it, a beautiful bug with a red color with a black spot, right? And they are useful of getting rid of aphids. Another one is dragonfly, are useful to get rid of mosquitoes. I remember when I was small, lots of dragonflies were there in nearby our place, and we used to play with it. But what is their significance? They would feed on mosquito larvae. So mosquitoes were under control. But nowadays we hardly see any dragonfly, but we see a lot of mosquitoes, because their natural predator is missing from the environment. Next is a trichoderma. It is biological control being developed for use in the treatment of plant disease plant disease. This is a fungus. Okay, it's a species of free living fungi which are very common in the root ecosystem. Free living means what? They live simply in soil, whereas others may live as a parasite on the body of organisms. They are effective biocontrol agents of several plant pathogens. So if any plant is infected with other pathogens, we can specifically use this trichoderma to control them. This is very important, baculoviruses. Baculoviruses come under a category called a nucleopolyhedrovirus. What is it? Nucleopolyhedrovirus. They are pathogens that attack insects and other arthropods. What are arthropods? The phylum Arthropoda, which includes insects also, right? So baculoviruses are very effective in getting rid of these arthropods. These viruses are excellent candidates for species specific, means they are very specifically destroying only one species. Narrow spectrum, it's not going to affect other species. Insecticidal application. Side means kill. Insecticide, killing insect. pesticide killing pest, weedicide killing weed. Understood? So insecticidal application they have. They have been shown to have no negative impact. They don't have any problem with the environment on plants, mammals, birds, fish, or even non-target insects. So only they will affect phylum Arthropoda. That also whichever particular insect is specified, only that will be affected, nothing else. So it is very effective. This is especially desirable when beneficial insects are being conserved to aid in overall integrated pest management program. See, just now I told you about the disappearance of dragonfly. How did they disappear? When we sprayed lot of chemicals to kill the pests, along with that these useful insects also disappeared. So in this program, what are we doing? We are not troubling any of the useful insects. We are targeting only the pests. This is called the integrated pest management program, or when an ecologically sensitive area is being treated, because we want to conserve the rest of the species. Here you can see a few predators and their parasites. Ladybirds can control aphids. Dragonflies can control mosquitoes. Bacillus thuringiensis bacteria can control insect caterpillar. Trichoderma can control several plant pathogens. Baculoviruses, that is nucleopolyhedrovirus, they can control insects. We are coming to the end of this chapter. Microbes as biofertilizers. What are biofertilizers? They are organisms that enrich the nutrient quality of the soil. Bacteria like a rhizobium, you know, they are present in the root nodule of leguminous plants. They can fix atmospheric nitrogen into organic forms. That is, in the environment, 78% of nitrogen is there in the atmosphere. But plants or animals cannot use it directly. First, it has to be converted into compounds in the soil. That is called a nitrogen fixation. Who can do this? Bacteria like a rhizobium. Other bacteria which can do this are Azospirillum and Acetobacter. So they are also used for enriching nitrogen in the soil. In this picture you are seeing a root which is infected with a rhizobium. Once they make infection in the roots, they produce certain nodules. You can see some bulb-like structures. Inside that they live. Many species of fungus form symbiotic association with the roots of plants. You can see a root in the picture. It has got whitish appearance. That is nothing but fungus. This is called a mycorrhiza. So what is mycorrhiza? Association of fungus with the roots of plants, especially plants like pine trees. Here the fungus is from genus Glomus. The mycorrhiza is the association. The fungus involved in this association is the Glomus. Here fungal mycelium. What is meant by mycelium? The plant body of fungus or the body of fungus is thread-like structure called a hyphae. The hyphae together called a mycelium. What is their function? They absorb nutrients, especially phosphorus, from soil, and they give it to plants because they cannot prepare food. So the plants will prepare food and give back to fungus. And one more advantage is, as long as a fungus is living on the root, no other pathogen will attack the root. So fungus will protect the plant from root-borne pathogens. And also fungus will help the plant to tolerate salinity or salt content of the soil and drought also to a greater extent. So this is also a kind of mutualism or an association where both are benefited. Here mycorrhiza is association where the fungus is providing. You have to clearly remember this because the same concept we will learn in ecology also. What is it? The fungus is providing or absorbing phosphorus. It helps in protecting the plant from root-borne pathogens, tolerance to salinity and drought. At the same time, the plant will provide the fungus with the nourishment. Another microbe that we are using as biofertilizer is cyanobacteria or blue-green algae. They can also fix atmospheric nitrogen. So the other one, rhizobium, we've told that can live only in the roots of leguminous plants. So if you want the soil to be fertilized, we need to grow only leguminous plants. But here we have another alternative, that is cyanobacteria. They are prokaryotes. We can grow them in large tanks and then transfer them into the field directly. They can also fix atmospheric nitrogen. Examples are Anabina and Nostoc, Oscillatoria, etc. What is the advantage here? When you are spraying nitrogen fertilizer, that is commercially produced fertilizer, we are simply spraying nitrogen into the soil. Is it adding any organic matter to the soil? No. So over a period of time, 3-4 years continuously you use, soil will degrade because there is no organic matter or humus or nothing is getting into the soil. Whereas when we transfer the cyanobacteria, the entire organism itself, along with the nitrogen, it will provide what? The organic matter also to the soil. As a result, over a period of time, soil quality or structure also improves. The 4 biofertilizers we learned are, first is nitrogen fixing bacteria like a rhizobium, azospirillum, acetobacter. Second is mycorrhiza, a glomus in association with the roots of our trees. Third is cyanobacteria or blue-green algae, which can fix atmospheric nitrogen and also add organic matter to the soil. Hope you understood this lesson very well. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Biology My Passion.